Well, hello. So I've got a question for you. Does this mean anything to anybody? Yeah, it will to some. It means that today we're going to be looking at The Monster Club, the official adaptation. This appeared in Halls of Horror, issues 25 and 26, or as it also says inside the magazine, volume 3, issues 1 and 2. So, for those of you who don't know, The Monster Club was a portmanteau movie, an anthology of shorter films put together in one big movie, made by a company called Amicus in 1981. It was released in 1981. I think the title, the production company on the film shows up a little bit different. I don't think it was quite Amicus, but it was pretty much producers and directors and actors and visual effects people that work for Amicus. It's essentially an Amicus production. They produced films in the past like Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, Torture Garden, House of Drip Blood. So many great movies. So this one is actually, the script was adapted by Des Skin, kind of a stalwart of British comics, and illustrated largely by John Bolton, but we'll go into other artists a bit later on in the video. So this came about, Milton Subotsky, one of the producers at Amicus, wanted to showcase something of the film he was working on at the 1980 Sundance Film Festival, and really didn't have much. The film was in pre-production, parts of it had been cast, but he wanted to show it off. So he thought, what better than do a comic? He'd seen some other magazines that Des Skin had edited and produced, largely House of Hammer and Halls of Horror, who do Hammer movie adaptations, liked how that had turned out and got in touch with Des Skin and said, can you do me a comic book based on my script? So Des got John Bolton in to do the art. It was a pretty tight turnaround. They didn't have an awful lot of time to get this thing finished. So one story went over to David Lloyd of V for Vendetta fame. Both David Lloyd and John Bolton were artists that worked on Warrior that Des Skin produced, which was a really influential British comic, and one of the first actually kind of grown-up adult comics that I came across. So yeah, he produced this comic book. There were 1,000 copies given out to people at the Sundance Film Festival, which it's not like I can't even afford one. I just can't find one of those. They are so rare. So Des obviously retained the rights, very wise thing to do, and reprinted the strip when he relaunched his Halls of Horror magazine. So let's talk a little bit about John Bolton's art. I really love his style. Some of this strip I think is a little rushed. Some of the backgrounds and composition isn't his best work. Some of it is just truly beautiful. And I think some of it could possibly rival, oddly enough, there we go, that young lady there, could possibly rival a bit of Bernie Wrightson, dare I say it, especially his kind of ghouls and stuff later on in the strip. And all due respect to Bernie, I absolutely love Bernie Wrightson's work. No adverts. This is there's no adverts really in this magazine. So we've got this beautiful pin-up in the middle. It's worth getting just for that, just frame it. This was the cover of the comic when it was released for the Sundance Film Festival. One of the things you do notice when you read this adaptation is that the last two stories are actually in a different order. I think the running order in the film works better, because I think the Village of Ghouls story is much stronger than the Bleeny story, the Vampire Hunters. They're both great, but the Ghoul one is the one that people remember most, which is this one that's coming up now. This film was actually made as a horror movie for slightly younger audiences. And at the time, a lot of parents, when it came out, were quite happy to let their kids watch it and that. And this particular story with the Village of Ghouls is the one that has stuck in a lot of people's minds the most. I think it's there's a lot of my friends that have vague memories of this guy being trapped in an English village full of ghouls and not knowing where it's come from, just being a vague memory from their childhood. It's this. And I have to say, I think it's my favourite part of the film. So they kind of work the other way around, Des Skin and John Bolton. Normally, they would do adaptations of Hammer movies. So they would have all the source material, stills, everything, and then try and condense it to a script, to a comic strip. This time they only had the script and a vague idea of who was playing which role. And they had to come up with their own ideas and designs and stuff. John Bolton's designs for the ghouls and stuff impressed Milton Subotsky so much, he asked him to draw some panels for a flashback sequence in the film, which some people hate and I think works really well. Also, Roy Ashton, the Hammer film makeup artist, did a lot of the character designs for this and the makeup designs for this film. And of course took it ties in really well with the film, because he was influenced a lot by John Bolton's art and liked the designs for some of the characters that John Bolton did. So just kind of incorporated those when he came up with the makeup designs, which I think is pretty amazing. So we're going to move on now to the strip that David Lloyd drew. Like I said before, David Lloyd, I think most famous for V for Vendetta. I think his style kind of suited this strip. Possibly a little nod to The Exorcist in there as well. There we go. His style is a bit, it kind of suits the wide-eyed innocence of this story, because this story is really told through the eyes of a child who is kind of telling the story about his dad. And yeah, it's almost kind of like, I like his style. I think it looks more like a kind of 50s, 60s Eagle kind of art strip style, which I think works really nicely, and it's a nice break from John Bolton's style, just to mix it up a little bit. If they'd put this strip third, this part of the story second, I think that would have broken it up even more and done made a nice structure for the film. And he was brought in literally because John Bolton didn't have time to finish it. He was drawing loads and loads and loads to try and get the strip finished on time, and there was just no more time to do it. So we're coming to the end of the strip here now. Back at the Monster Club. So the film's linked by this club that's inhabited by monsters, and the stories are told about the monsters there. And John Bolton also drew in the film the monster genealogical chart, which is very cool, which actually got pinched from the set when it had finished, so somebody obviously liked it pretty much. So yeah, if you want to pick these up, when I did this video, you could get them on eBay for about $5 each. It's kind of I think it's really worth looking at. There's a bit of film memorabilia and a bit of just really nice art and a really nice story. So yeah, thank you. And don't forget...